That's way too loud. Okay.
But no, I've always been interested in doing play-by-play for traditional sports, and then I was like, so I hit you up. I actually tried to hit up Alex back in the day to try and do Get Wrecked, but he never let me. So.
Oh, did you want to do play-by-play?
Oh no, not play-by-play.
Oh, okay.
Play-by-play is a very specific skill that a few people have, and like I'm more like color commentary and like trying to see
Okay.
if I can make commentary flow and bounce off you really well, and see if I have the ability to gab like that and provide insightful analysis. So.
Oh god.
So this is one of the plat teams, correct?
Yep.
For our team.
Yeah, this is Darkwind.
I'm still not familiar with like what each name means or whatever. I just know harvest is gold. That's
There's not like a meaning for them
Oh, yeah,
other
yeah.
than it's just to separate when we have multiple teams in the same division.
Yeah, that's fair.
And now every team is just kind of taken a mind of their own at this point, so everything just kind of exists other than the Masters team, which is the Masters team, so which is funny because like there's 2 or 3 Grandmasters on it, so they're not even really a Masters team. But who are these boys playing, and what is that stream? They're playing Dorado New on CCS All 1 or something like that. Oh my god, that's so fucking busy. I went to their stream announcement and it's just like a solid wall of text with 1 billion colors in it. I can't.
Are you talking about the Aegis's?
No, Classic Championship Series.
Oh.
There we go. Oh, and then I need to post this in Aegis. Not that I think anybody actually looks there, but we'll do it anyway. Crustacean. That's a hard name to type out very quickly. Okay, now I've done other stuff.
Elsa from Frozen.
There's a whole team of them in CCS where they're like Olaf from Frozen, Elsa from Frozen, Anna from Frozen. It's very funny. I appreciate a meme like that.
Yeah, that's good.
Did you get the draft links? Were you in here?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't put them into the draft link machine, so I better do that. There we go. Okay.
So we'll be what? Over the course of the next 2 days, we'll get to see what, 6 total teams and how they're approaching the new patch that just came out.
Maybe 6, maybe 8, maybe Oh no, we don't. I need to check and see what's happening with Crowstorm, because they moved their game back to 8:30. So if that's the case, we might pick them up at the end of the night.
Okay.
Just
Okay.
have a
Yeah, I'm down.
real night, or we might not, and I might just go to bed.
Okay. I'm down
Um,
either. I'm probably down either way. I'll let you know before tomorrow for sure, cause I don't, without being practiced and used to it. The one thing that would be a concern up front would be voice strain. But
yeah.
like,
Get yourself some water.
yeah, I went and bought a whole new case of water today because I
Oh.
was like, hey, I'm probably gonna need a. I mean, I've been drinking water like during summertime anyway, but it was just in addition to this, it gave me an extra reason to buy a new case. So. Hydrate, right?
These boys crack me up. I just look in their chat and I can send you this GIF. This is just Loker's response to something. And I don't know what's going on.
Wait, whose chat is that? The Plat team, our Plat team chat?
Yeah, that's just the Darkwind chat in our server. This is in response to somebody telling him good luck, so you know, whatever that means.
Right. I don't know how to interpret that response. I don't know if that's positive or negative. So.
Oh, the other cool thing, they made so like the new Star Guardian song and the like Talia thing they came out with are all allowed to be played on streams. They're not going to go after people. So
Oh,
I thought that was kind
is
of neat.
cool. Yeah.
Oh shit. Colbrin. Message Marionette in the server and she can get you the button. Let me tell her. Hey yo, Ash. Colbrin will message you. Okay, cool. Got that squared away. It's impressive as hell that people collect 15,000 channel points.
Yo, you're not kidding, man. Like I have channels that I like leave it like on while I AFK and go do something else just to like support like small streamers and things like that, like people that I've just taken an interest in and don't get the same kind of like pub that like people like Double Lift would or whatever. But like even when I do that, I think the highest I have is limit maximum and he's only at like 20,000. And like and then like everybody else is under like 2 or 3.
I've got the two streamers I've watched the most are Aikato and Distortion 2. He's a Dark Souls speedrunner. I've got like 90,000 roughly on both of them. But yeah, a lot of that is just leaving them on and doing other stuff.
Right, yeah.
And like you click back in and you're like, and you click the little box that gives you the extra channel points.
Right, yeah. You just periodically walk by the PC to just click that box and like keep doing what you're doing.
And then Distortion was doing viewer runs, so he got some good points on Gamba, but yeah, whenever I run Gambas, we don't like every once in a while we get enough response for it, but it's few and far between when we get enough people to actually run a good prediction. All right, we're finally readying up in the chat, so we should. Oh
yeah,
okay.
we are.
We're just going. Let's see it. All right, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Aegis League, Aegis Protectors League, Week 5. This is Rodham Darkwind taking on TDR Crustacean Nation. Rodham comes in at 2-1 with a victory in the interconference game, so technically 3-1, but only 2 counts for their official standing. TDR is 4-0, so this is presumably 2 of the best teams in the group going head to head, and will go a long way toward determining which team winds up on the top at the end. I'm Maris, my co-caster, making his Radom debut as Toe Knuckles. Very quickly, Cassiopeia, Zillion, Twitch, Nidalee, Graves, Lilia, all banned. Seraphine's B1, Aatrox, Renata Glask, R1, R2. What do you think?
Man, they went at a blistering speed through those first bans, but the Seraphine pick is really powerful and it's really flexible in the meta. So like B1ing it, we're seeing some teams, especially on the eastern side of the world, giving that more priority, and so it's not completely surprising to see it B1. And there's a pick that I'm interested in seeing how it performs is Talia. I hope that goes to the jungle. I'm presuming that even though Yone top is a thing, we'll probably see Talia in the jungle, and with her new passive where the boulder stuns, I just want to see how much healthier that makes her and how much more that puts her on the map ganking and things like that. Just to quickly touch, because we are going at a very fast rate through this pick and ban phase. So.
Yeah, Sivir being hovered, that champion got hotfix nerfed and is still really strong. So that's a pretty good pickup for TDR heading into our second phase. But my Dark Wind specific read is that's probably Mason playing Yone in the top lane, and probably Talia jungle for Heimerdoodles, but Alpals has also played Yone this season, so really could go anywhere, and it looks like TDR isn't tunneling on the Mason Yone.
Yeah, it looks kind of like they're just trying to make sure that they have a good matchup in top lane, since they went ahead and blind picked that, and the Yone is flexible. They're just kind of guaranteeing themselves that they're not going to get pushed back into a disadvantageous lane, given that they gave up counter pick to that. But it's really interesting seeing how the drafts are coming together, because it looks like with the Sivir and the Renata that you'd want to do a team fight, but I kind of lean that Aatrox is more of a split pusher right now, given that the way he itemizes and things like that. So we might see them lean into a 4-1 comp, whereas ROTM still has a lot of flexibility in what they can do with their draft. So
yeah, a lot of targeted bans. These aren't, honestly, of these champions, I don't know that any of them are super high meta priority champions. We're just seeing 10 specific targets being shot back and forth across the chasm here at each other. And TDR, you'd imagine this is a jungler, and Volibear is a jungler. He did get nerfed this patch, but not too bad, really.
yeah, it was kind of just minor hits across the board. It wasn't any one glaring thing to like take out power of any one of his specific abilities. It was just small tweaks across the board. So it'll be really interesting to see how he fares after the nerfs, and see if TDCN can have the same kind of impact they had on last patch with the Volibear. So Galio is another champion that's affected by the buff, by the way. His Q got buffed, so he should have more damage in skirmishes going forward. But it's really hard to get a read on ROTM's draft without prior knowledge of who plays what.
Yeah.
Like you have,
so this should be an 80 carry for, I guess not necessarily. Loker has played Seraphine bottom, and there it is, the Pike for Cairo. Okay. I'm a big fan. Cairo and Colbrin have played the last couple of weeks, and we've seen them whip out the Callista Pike lane. This is a lane that exists in Seraphine Pike, but Cairo's Pike is very clean. I'm very excited to see it again.
I am a huge fan of Pike as a champion. I love like what he brings to the table, being able to get around the map so quickly with his W, and being able to also have a higher kill threshold in the bottom lane once he hits 6 than most other supports. The only downside to Pike is he has tough matchups that can really punish him hard, but it looks like with the Renata Glask that may not necessarily be the case, and they may get to be the aggressors in this bot lane, and it could really give Pike a chance to pop off and get roaming and influence other lanes as well. So
Yeah, our team has readied up for second draft. TDR still needs a second apparently, but yeah, presumably at least knowing these champions, you've got the Seraphine bottom, or knowing these players, excuse me, you've got the Seraphine bottom, the Galio mid, and Yone top, I would imagine. Um, this is not a traditional team fighting comp from ROTM, and it also doesn't really fill some of the niches that they've had in previous games, where they'll put Mason on a big bruiser. The Darius and the Aatrox have been really big picks for him. He's on the Yone, which is a pick that he's very strong at, but isn't the same, taking front to back team fights champions as those are. Do you worry a little bit about ROTM if they do get into 5v5s?
So I will say this: I think they have the tools, even though they don't have a standard front line. I think they have the tools to navigate a 5v5 very well, but it's gonna look something like probably Mason going in off of an EQ2. Sorry, I don't know the ability names as well as some other casters. I refer to them more as the button you press, but probably an EQ2 into an ult with a Galio on top of it, and then maybe a Seraphine ult behind that following up. So they definitely have the powerful tools to navigate a team fight. It's just not traditional, and it's going to be very important that at neutral objectives they get to the vision first, because you don't really have anyone that can face check a bush on their team very safely. So the threats of a Renato or a Volibear sitting in that bush waiting to whack you are pretty high for ROTM. But if they can get there and establish vision, I definitely think they have the tools to pop off in a team fight. It's actually probably really hard for a Victor to navigate a team fight, given all the different angles that ROTM's comp can come from with the Pike and the Talia and the Yone and all that. So while not traditional, I don't hate ROTM's comp at all, and I think it's going to be a very interesting stylistic clash between the traditional front to back style that TDCN has and ROTM, where they just kind of just say, hey, we just all want to fight you all at once. So
Yeah, and TDR has, like you said, built just a very traditional comp. You have the Sivir to help speed up the Volibear and the Aatrox to get in position. You have kind of the Renata and the Victor coming over the top. It's very easy to see the way that they want to play fights and the way that they want to navigate things. And it's a little bit harder, I think, and a little bit more difficult to execute for ROTM. But we've seen them have some good games. Last week, I just wanted to shout out, Mason had a 13 CS per minute game on Yone. I don't expect that he'll quite rack up the CS the same way he did in that game, but just wanted to give a shout out to that. I'd never seen a number like that before, especially in an amateur game.
yeah, and then you draw that back and you look at it even further. You analyze that not only was it amateur game, but like the competitive atmosphere of it too. Like a lot of times you don't funnel that hard. You can see upwards of 11 or 12 in solo queue sometimes because players play greedier, but like that's really impressive that he's hitting those numbers in a competitive game. So
Yeah. I don't know. I'm just excited for this game, and of course we get to wait the extra 2.5 minutes for the spectator delay. RTM lost week 1 against Iceborne Exodia, but has rattled off 3 really strong wins in a row. We'll see if they can keep that momentum behind them. TDR Crustacean Nations comes in at 4-0, but they've 2-1 3 of their weeks, so it seems like they've played a lot of closer series, even against some of the bottom tier teams in the divisions. So I am very interested. Also, we have the personal clash. Skifter and 0-2 both tried out for ROTM and then left before the season started. So,
so
don't
there's
want
a
to make
lot
it
of
personal, but
a lot of
there's a little
history.
history there.
Okay. All right. So the thing I'm looking at going into the game, though, since we got some time to fill, is like, what is the early game going to look like for both of these teams? And looking at it from my perspective, I think that ROTM, the one thing that they really have going for them in their draft, Heimerdoodles can realistically go to any lane to create pressure, and so he really has a lot of flexibility where he wants to influence the map. We don't necessarily know where that is, and it'll become more apparent as they get into game, and we'll kind of get to see kind of some of the decisions and how they want to play it out. If they want to play towards Yone and getting him really strong, or if they want to shut down the Victor because the Galio has good gank setup as well. So I really like that part about ROTM's comp, even if it is going to be more difficult to navigate in the later games. But they've given themselves the tools to get an early lead to kind of alleviate that higher threshold of execution that their comp has. So it'll be really interesting to see how the early game plays out for ROTM.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting clash of styles that we've got going on. Mid lane will probably be a snooze fest, but should see some fireworks in both top and bottom, at least a little bit. I don't know. I could also see the Seraphine Pike just default to farming as well, but we have Yone versus Aatrox, and that's not a quiet matchup, and Talia and Volibear both want to get involved as well, so probably won't be too boring.
Right, I definitely think that the pressure is probably going to be aimed more at the top side for the reasons that you just said. I was just kind of highlighting that Heimerdoodles does have the flexibility to have strong gank setup in all three lanes. The Victor Galio kind of goes neutral. Victor should get a CS lead, but like he's not really ever going to have kill pressure on Galio, and if Victor plays it correctly and spaces decently well, without Talia being there, Galio's not really going to have kill pressure on Victor either, especially with that Ghost. So I think you're right that we're going to see most of the action probably towards the top lane, with maybe a little bit of early game action in the bot lanes as Dragon becomes a point of contention. So.
And not to divert you from our stream, but we also have Radom Banditos headed onto the Rift for their first time this split. They're on twitch.tv/ccs_LOL. They are playing Fiddlesticks in game number 1, so pull that one open in a separate tab. Open up your multi-Twitches, whatever you've got to do. But it's a topside invade for ROTM to start off with, and Elsa from Frozen might be the first victim of the game. Walking in, a really good flash over the long part of the wall. So, no Aatrox flash level 1, and that could set up a nice little angle for Heimerdoodles early on.
Yeah, that's going to be really important because of what we talked about in the pregame lobby about how that lane is very explosive and volatile and can be snowballed pretty hard. So, robbing that early for just literally just running at him is robbing that summoner early for just running at him is pretty advantageous for ROTM and should set up nice for Heimerdoodles to get something going early in that top lane.
I wonder if Cairo not buying items was intentional. Like if he thought he was going to go and pick up an early kill and like grab an extra item or something weird. Anyway, we're walking in at level 1. TDR has reinvaded the red buff, and now we've got a little 3v4 brewing, but ROTM doesn't know how many people are here. They're still calling in Alpals as well. To Splash has started up the red buff. We're gonna have a level 1 scrap over the red buff, and Splash is gonna be able to get the buff. He's ignited. He flashes over the wall and is able to escape. So, not an ideal start for Darkwind as they lose their red buff. They lose a lot of health, and Splash comes away with the extra buff.
This game is
and Skifter's gonna walk in. All right, well.
We thought we were in for some shenanigans this game, or not necessarily shenanigans, but we thought we were in for a lot of interesting activity due to the comps alone, but the players are making it interesting before the comps even have a chance to, just by this ruthless level 1 aggression by both sides. So.
Yeah, Alpal's taking advantage early of having a little bit extra shove on Skifter since he walked over to harass Heimerdoodles at the Raptors. So he'll get that level 2 advantage and be able to at least have some mid lane priority that might help Heimer. I don't know if they want to reinvade the red side, but it'll at least get him a crab or two.
Yeah, for sure. And then it's important to note that Mason has gone ahead and taken the advantage that they secured for him in top lane and used that to pressure Aatrox early and kind of force him to have the back foot. So he does have priority in the top lane as well. And Heimer should be able to at least navigate the top side of the map pretty easily without fear of
Sorry, that was a really good handshake by Dragon Moon Cake, which
For
are
sure.
3 words that go together, I'm sure. Um, I guess like Moon Cake is a thing and Dragon Moon is a thing, so why not? Dragon Moon Cake. Perfect. Okay.
It
I'd-
just it makes me think of those old snacks, like a spicy version of a moon pie is
oh,
what I yeah. Like if you added those sweet and hot like the chocolates with the peppers, like if you did that version of that's a dragon moon cake in my head. So anyway, I digress because that has nothing to do with League of Legends, but
we're all about talking about not League of Legends on this channel, so um yeah, Cairo gonna get another hook onto Dragon. Level 3 hit though for Renata, so Cairo can't go super aggressive. Now finally hits level 3 himself, 0-2. Take it a little bit low. Loker and Cairo still looking for him. Gets the max Q. The double Q over the top from Loker isn't quite enough to finish him off. The dive away from Cairo. He'll get a little bit of health to regen, but just burning some summoner spells again. 0-2 has to use his flash, Dragon Mooncake the ignite, and Loker still holding on to both of his.
uh,
Oh,
they put
Cairo.
themselves.
Cairo? Okay.
I'm surprised he didn't go for that hook. I know Sivir had a decent chunk of health left, but she was almost out of mana, so she was all auto attacks. I think they could have 2v1'd her right there, but probably just opting to make the safe play after a really tumultuous early game by both teams. So.
Yeah, Loker has a 10 CS advantage, which is kind of bizarre to see on the Seraphine over the Sivir early on. Heimer is just walking down to bottom lane. Haven't really tracked the junglers too much. They traded crabs. Heimer got the top crab in exchange for the bottom crab. But so wasn't able to invade, get any extra camps. So he is behind by 2 or 3 camps right now on the Volley Bear and continues to be behind in experience. So definitely something to watch and see how Heimer is able to snap back a little bit in this game, if he is.
The other thing that I'm really looking at and kind of paying attention to is that in the mid lane, Galio has a CS advantage on Victor, and he's returning the lane, kind of getting a chance to shove and like push out. He should really start impacting the map soon as they're approaching level 6. But having a CS lead early on Galio when he's kind of weak and not able to clear the waves as well is just a good boon for the future of that mid lane for ROTM.
Yeah, and I really like the discussion that we're having in the chat about how Renata W can stop the pike reset from going off. So that's another extra mind game that Cairo has to play on top of all the other ones that you normally have to play as pike. So um, we'll have to, again, we'll just have to see how he's able to navigate. He's done really well on pike in the couple of stage games. That's a really dirty hook. Like,
Oh, yeah,
absolutely disgusting by Cairo.
that was filthy. That was threaded through the minions perfectly. Like, I'm sure though that if Kairos as a big pike aficionado as you let on or you led me to believe in the pre-game lobbies, I'm sure he has experience playing against Renata, and it's not something completely foreign to him.
They're going to walk forward for the stab. Splash is going to go ahead and take away the dragons. So TDR Crustacean Nation on the board with an Earth Dragon early. I didn't put the timers up. There they are. Heimer's going to take advantage by stealing away at least a camp and try to rubber band back a little bit of experience that he's missing.
I just looked over at chat and noticed that me and Marky Mosel pretty much echoed the same thing about Cairo and having experience playing against Renata unintentionally. Sorry to steal your train of thought, Marky, but very valid point. It's kind of shaping up that the Dark Wind has kind of stabilized what happened in the early game and been able to set themselves up with good footing, especially in the bottom lane. However, Volibear is making things happen around the map. Still has a small CS advantage, 1 camp advantage, and also found time to take that dragon as well. So we'll see how.
Did they? They must have seen Splash on the way up there. Mason immediately backed off to not get ganked. And you see the reaction from ROTM lined up in the bottom lane. They'll pull in Dragon Mooncake. Take him very low. He's got the W on. Ignite burning down. He'll eventually die as a result of that. And it's first blood for ROTM Darkwind.
Good play by RTM, stacking with the jungler, playing opposite side of the map of the volley bear, and just creating an advantage that there was no way that TDR could answer on that side of the map because volley bear in the top side. Meanwhile, Mason escapes the gank attempt on his life, and um, they don't get to punish with a kill or lane pressure, but it does look like they're going to capture the Herald and maybe do a return gank up there.
All right, so I haven't seen updated Sivir build, but the Sheen is presumably for uh,
Essence Reaver.
Essence Reaver, right? Yeah.
Yes, because I think they made it to where you don't want to not build crit, if that makes any sense now.
Yeah.
Like, it's so beneficial to build crit on her now that I have to assume that's an Essence Reaver coming into play.
Oh, Heimerdoodle's not quite able to take that blue, or he did take it, actually. Splash wasn't able to get that. Has to ult out. Now gets blue smited, but the collapse comes in from Elsa. Getting a big Q1. Heimerdoodle's forced to retreat. Now trying to buy a little bit of space with a flash Q3 from Elsa from Frozen. Finishes that one off. Splash takes down Alpals as well, and Mason has to hit the blast cone out. So TDR find 2 kills in the 3v3 on top side.
And this kind of goes back to what we were pointing out, like in the pregame lobby, right? About how OTM has the tools to execute skirmishes and team fights, but they're dis they're at a disadvantage whenever it kind of happens on the fly like that. They need setup more so than TDR does in order to find success in these skirmishes. So
Yeah, Shelly going to be dropped in mid lane, so TDR off to about a 1,000 gold lead, mostly thanks to plates and those 2 kills in top lane. Again, something to keep an eye on is Loker has a 20 CS lead on 0-2 in bottom lane. That doesn't
I
feel ethical given these champions, but maybe I'm
I
wrong.
have I mean you're right that like if you would have told me in pregame lobby that the Seraphine had a CS advantage over a Sivir, and given the way that Sivir's kit works, I would have been very surprised. But watching how it's played out, you got to give a lot of credit to Kyra. He's generating a lot of pressure against TDR's bot lane and kind of forcing them to play on the back foot because he's not letting them step up aggressively to harass and punish like they'd like to.
Yep, and Loker even able to secure a counter turret plate for himself in the bottom lane. Now should get a nice fat back. Let's see how much he's got. 2,200 in his pocket, so see a couple of those components come through. And, Mason in the top lane, pit stopping for Zeal, as is relatively traditional on Yone. But the first mythic of the game is going to go to Splash on the Volley Bear, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. Cairo looking to close some distance here in the mid lane, able to find the stun into the taunt on Elsa, and they'll take him down easily. Heimerdoodles picks up his first kill of the game. The Chaos Storm doing a little bit to trade back, but not enough to deter anyone from ROTM further.
And this is kind of what we highlighted, right, in the early game is Cairo going to be able to be unlocked from that bot lane and kind of make plays around the map? He found a good timing where Loker was on recall and he didn't necessarily need to be present in bot lane, so he does do a good job of going around the map.
And now they're going to look for
And
Skifter in mid lane. Good flash over the Talia rocks means the Heimerdoodles has to counter flash over the thick part of the wall, being chased down by Volibear, and will eventually fall to Skifter in the mid lane. So little bit of an overstep there, a little over eagerness from Cairo and Heimerdoodles, and they're going to have to give up this dragon.
for sure, this is going to put him at 2, but I like the aggression that we're seeing from Cairo, just moving around the map, looking for picks. Unfortunate that the volley bear was already in the area, ready to kind of counter gank and exploit that weakness that ROTM has of probably not matching up very well in skirmishes that are kind of on the fly, but it's still nice to see ROTM being proactive and working through their power points, which is their bot lane right now. So
Yeah, so 3-2. About 1,000 gold lead right now for TDR, Crustacean Nation, the 2 dragons as well, all the neutral objectives falling their way, and we'll have to see ROTM, I think, get a little bit more involved, especially now that Alpals is unlocked at level 6, Cairo's unlocked at level 6. This top lane's been really quiet, which I would imagine that favors the Yone early on. He just wants to farm up to an item or two and then be the strongest champion in existence. Cairo looking for the gank in top lane. In comes the Fate Sealed from Mason, but he's got to try to get out of there. They'll call in the Galio just for the extra knockup. Splash is caught on the wrong side now thanks to the knockup from the Blast Cone. No, doesn't quite get executed. Really well timed R by Splash to get over the thick part of the... I've said thick part of the wall so many times during this cast, but he gets over the wall into the Baron Pit. 0-2 with a good spell shield on the... charm from Loker in the bottom lane, and nobody died.
There's
Nothing
a lot
happened.
of action. There's a lot of action for 0 deaths, and it did look kind of gloomy there for a second when Alpals kind of had to go over the wall by himself, but Heimerdoodle wrapped around in the Tribrush area and kind of secured him an exit. But it was kind of weird how that Blast Cone created a split fight, and still no one died, even after that fight got split up like that.
Yep, and so we're back to farming.
But yeah, your point that you were making about Yone, I completely agree. He definitely, I think, outscales Aatrox in the 1v1, and kind of that he just becomes a right-click champion later. You know, like of course he's gonna Q and things to like set up his CC and his knockups, but he doesn't really have to. He becomes a melee AD carry later in the game and outscales the Aatrox. So I think you are correct in your assessment that they aren't doing a good enough job probably punishing the Yone right now. And I think that's probably the first hook I've seen Cairo miss all game.
Yeah, and he waited that out really nicely too. Just not quite able to guess which way 0-2 would dodge around the turret. And as a result, not able to find the kill, but they've forced the ult and the flash and the heal out of 0-2. So a little bit more vulnerable Sivir. Sheila gonna go the way of TDR. Off of the back of that play, and RTM maybe looking for a bot lane play. They're buzzing around the blue buff area.
Well, I'm going to be interested to seeing which mythic Sivir picks up in this situation. She is a short range AD carry, and they do have a lot of threats that are kind of coming at her in team fights. So I would probably guess the shield bow for the safety, given that they don't really have any huge mega tanks on ROTM side. I would probably opt for the shield bow for the added safety.
That was a little greedy by Heimerdoodles walking back through mid lane. Alpals is going to go and make sure that the Chaos Storm can't continue to chase his jungler, but has to eat all of his health bar and his ult in order to get out. Now Mason in a little bit of trouble in the top lane. Splash has an ult to turn off the tower if he needs to. Mason will snap back with the E, but he can wait out the tower turning off. Now has the Fate sealed onto the Aatrox. They'll call in the Galio ult as well, but Elsa's already able to take him down. Really well done on the damage by Elsa from Frozen, and now Alpal's in quite a bit of trouble as well. He'll be taken down for the double kill for the Aatrox.
Yeah, really well played from the side of TDR right there. They knew their damages. Got the kill on Mason, flashed out of the Galio ult to make sure they weren't knocked up while having turret aggro, and then got to come back in and finish it. Just a clean dive. All credit to TDR right there. I don't think Mason played that poorly at all. I just think that he was outnumbered and TDR did what they had to do to execute the play.
Yeah, and it might be 2 towers up in the top lane as well after Sheila crashes in. And it is 2 towers, so Aatrox is very strong with his completed Gore Drinker, and the tides have tilted just a little bit in this game. It's a 5,000 gold lead for TDR Crustacean Nation, and that means that objective bounties are about to turn on.
So we're kind of seeing some of the things that we talked about come to play out like the way we expected, where they are having trouble with these skirmishes that are kind of just happening randomly around the map, where they're just kind of running into people. We have yet to see the two teams stack up and line up at an objective. I don't know if ROTM feels comfortable trying to go for that now, given that they've given up a little bit of a lead. But I definitely don't think they're out of the game. They have really good scaling with both Yone and Loker.
Yeah, they're looking for the pick on Elsa. Has to pop the World Ender, still just healing up through everything. Cairo trying to get him in execute range. Now he finally is, but where is the ult coming? Where is anything? It finally is the shutdown going to Heimerdoodles.
Really good for ROTM to kind of catch that kill. They we're fortunate that Elsa kind of walked into that one.
Big gank in the bottom lane looking for Alpals. They'll turn off the turret with the Stormbringer and then throw him back in with a handshake. That was a clean dive by TDR, and they'll continue to work their way on this bottom lane tower. And ROTM going to have to eventually answer, but just kind of hemorrhaging neutral objectives on the map right now. Cairo going to be the first one there and just throws the hook into the shield, which heals 0-2 now. Oh, and the handshake going to land on him. He's still got the extra E back out, but
TDR kind of showing us why they picked the Volley Bear, even if his individual strength is a little bit lower on this patch. That ability to turn off the turrets and take away your opponent's places to hide is really powerful. So,
ooh, Skifter over the wall looking for a pick, just throws the Chaos Storm in, which almost chunks through Kairo's entire health bar. Root gonna land onto Splash, but can they actually chunk through the Volley Bear in any reasonable amount of time? E over the wall from Mason, he gets stunned up, has to jump back, and that should be the end of that play as TDR is successfully able to get everybody out.
yeah, that's just two teams scrapping after trying to get a dragon. Then they realized that the dragon was gone and kind of were backing out, maybe trying to get a pick on the way out. But Volley's too tanky already, and ROTM still needs their items. So we're gonna see probably a situation where RTM has to turtle it back and pull back the lines of defense a little bit and just kind of hope for their gold to come in and hit power spikes in order to be able to really fight back. But against a Victor and a Sivir, they match your scaling, and the avenue isn't going to be easy for a comeback, but it is still there. I don't think the gold lead is insurmountable. And
Ooh, Mason looking for the 1v3, not quite able to find 0-2, able to dash out with that extra Q. The Q from Skifter, though, will be enough to finish him off. The power transfer, which for some reason I know the name of, from Skifter.
Yeah, I mean, we saw even Mason right there. Against the squishier members, he's already doing quite a bit of damage. He doesn't have that one shot yet, but if they can just kind of stem the bleeding and let Mason and Loker get to those 2 and 3 item power spikes, they got a puncher's chance to stay in this game, even if their comp isn't the easiest to execute. I know they would have liked to secure themselves getting a lead into the mid game, but they still got enough scaling to make this competitive if they can get the right team fights where they're fighting with the vision advantage. So
Yeah, and it feels like a lot of their success has just been getting individual picks, and they've had a lot of success in skirmishes, but just haven't been able to confirm the kills. There's been 3, 4, I mean, just an incredible amount of plays where people are getting away with 100 or 200 health or just escaping over the wall in the nick of time. And if some of those had come through on kills, this is a completely different looking game.
right, the skirmish war kind of looked like it was who found who first in the jungle or in the river or in those neutral spots. And so like the skirmishes was back and forth, but it went back to the whole ease of execution where TDR with the bigger health bars, tankier champions, when ROTM was getting the picks, it wasn't able to be converted on quite as effectively because Volley would get out by ulting over a wall or really good flashes from Elsa from Frozen up on the top side. So it's a game of inches, and just like Al Pacino says, in any given Sunday. So, you know, the breaks just aren't falling the way of ROTM in the early to mid game, but far from over with only the outer towers out gone so far. They haven't cracked the inhib line, so there's still room to breathe for ROTM. There's still hope.
Yeah, this is a scary moment, though, with 5 seconds to go. Hextech Soul potentially spawning for TDR. Do you fight this if you're ROTM? Oh, they pull the Volley Bear over the wall. They get the ult out. That's not insignificant. It's not the most significant, though. And we finally might have your big 5v5 skirmish that we've been hyping up. Weaver's Wall comes in, trying to separate the team. In come a lot of long-range abilities across the top. And Seraphine is the one that takes the dragon. Alpals and Mason fighting their way through. They take one down. Splash is going to be able to tear through and finish off Alpals. Cairo on the top side, running away from Elsa from Frozen. Heimerdoodle's just dashing back in, looking for any CC that he can, but Elsa finishes him off. Skifter now on the chase down, looking for a little bit more. Cairo dashes over the wall. They're going to abandon Loker. It's a double kill for Elsa, but the Dragon goes over to ROTM, and it's a 1 for 3. Oh, hopefully not a little bit more. Skifter trying to continue the chase down, and he's got the movement speed looking for Cairo now, and he's fine. It's Baron, though, maybe in the eyes of TDR Crustacean Nation.
So you stem the bleeding on the Dragon front, but unfortunately with losing Heimerdoodles, Alpals, and Loker, you do forfeit the Baron. And with two inhibitor towers exposed already, top and bot lane look primed to be pushed right now after they get back and kind of collect their gold.
Maybe
But
a
I don't know if
refight,
RTM can give them the chance.
Yeah, a little stun there from Cairo. They're looking for Splash, which is the hardest target, in fact. I was going to say not the easiest, but he's in fact the opposite of the easiest target to take down. And RTM not going to be able to find any counter picks there. So Baron successfully flipped, and TDR has a very commanding lead now in the game. Oh, hook onto 0-2. They're still looking for the dive. Charm gonna land, but they can't quite finish off the Sivir. She's got the bailout on. Elsa just finishes off Loker on the top side of the fight, and Heimerdoodles falls to Skifter. This Aatrox and Victor combo have been devastating for TDR.
This is now we're kind of seeing where like the health bar advantage makes a difference. You know, Aatrox doing just as much damage as Yone. Mason's punching up probably more damage, let's be real, but like he's able to deal out damage, but also, you know, he's got that sustain and that tankiness in his kit to kind of, and the way he builds, to kind of help him last longer, whereas ROTM doesn't have that same advantage. They're kind of more of a glass cannon comp, which requires that high execution that we talked about. Unfortunately, it just hasn't been there this game. They've barely missed out on a lot of picks, and we have a skirmish breaking out in the jungle.
Yeah, Cairo looking for Splash, but with Skifter and Elsa on the side, this could turn bad very quickly. It's a big charm, though, from Loker. Mason hits the Fate Sealed, trying to find some targets on the backside of this fight to finish off. Splash is on a rampage on the front side, but Mason is able to find one on the back. Alpals and Skifter are going to go at it, and Alpals actually wins that fight. Cairo over the wall, lands the stun onto Splash, but he's still being chased down by the Volley Bear. Alpals gets tracked down and taken down by 0-2, and Cairo is the last one left alive for ROTM as Splash just chases him down, and the Aatrox Volley Bear on the front side of the fight get to do whatever they want. Somehow 0-2 escapes out of the back and then finds enough ways to deal damage, and now the Nexus Tower's under threat, and it looks like game number 1 going to go to TDR Crustacean Nation.
Yeah, that last fight, it actually started out really, really good for ROTM, and I just think they got out-golded on that fight. You know, they got stat checked on it where they were just too far behind. It was really good crescendo by, or not crescendo, sorry, Seraphine R.
Advanced crescendo, yeah.
Yeah, and so it was really good Seraphine R, and then like it looked like Mason kind of like popped off and kind of got behind enemy lines and was able to get some of the squishiers and members like Dragon Mooncake. He popped Dragon pretty early in the fight, but they just got gold checked by Aatrox and Volibear and kind of got run over in that last team fight. Unfortunate to see on that last team fight, looks like. I think if they would have kind of played things similar to that earlier in the game, we would be talking about a lot closer game, but it's a good experience to learn from for ROTM, and hopefully they'll get a chance to review this game and maybe see how they can play this comp better. I definitely like the draft, and I don't want to see them shy away from drafts like this in the future, because I see the idea and the tools behind it, but they just kind of fell too far behind to really make it work. So
Yep, so 1-0 lead for TDR on match point now, and we'll load into game 2 as soon as we get an invite. Until then, we Pepe jamming in the chat.
did you see the competitive ruling on Reginald, by the way?
Yeah, that's a solid meme. it's good that Riot's doing something about it, but like, they made Echo Fox divest for kind of, you know, more serious thing over much less duration. Um, so feels a little weird, but you know, I guess that's where
I
we're
mean, it's kind of one of those things where like I think that they probably wanted to take more aggressive action against Reginald. They just didn't want to. It's one of the, I don't know. It feels like they didn't want to overreact, and so they underreacted to it. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
I mean, I'm honestly surprised that they did anything, but the fact that they just kind of slapped his hand basically, it's kind of
I mean, the one positive that I will say, a lot of people are missing. They're just looking at the 75K fine, and they're like, and a lot of people are aghast about the number on the fine, given Reggie's financial status. They think it should be higher, but mandating that he go to sensitivity training done by a third party that isn't Riot or TSM, I think that's probably the most important step that Riot took in this whole thing. So, and that and the hotline that they set up for players to be able to report outside of the TSM organization, for TSM players to be able to report to someone outside of the organization. So I think that those were both very positive things that Riot did in this whole ordeal. So I don't think those two things are to be underestimated, although I do think the fine was a little bit on the low side. So also not suspending, I think they could have probably maybe suspended Reggie from not necessarily ownership, but being around the team for like a year or something like that, or at least in an LCS environment. He could be like a meet with other TSM like team officials and stuff, but not having anything to do with the League of Legends team for like a year or
oh,
something.
make sure you jump down here, Toe.
Oh, right.
Oh, they're just drafting. Okay. Well, never mind. I was gonna jam out to the Star Guardian song during the break, but now we don't get to. We're already into draft for game number 2. So far we're running it back. All 6 of the first couple of bands are the same. If you need a refresher for 3 minutes ago, it's 1-0 TDR, and that's still a Seraphine B1 in my game, and there's no reason to change this up, so there should be Aatrox and Renata Glask. Yeah.
Are we watching? Finally, we see something different from game 1 with the Ash hover. I guess we don't know for sure if it's different if they don't lock it in, but everything is to stock so far through the first 9 buttons pressed in this draft. So make that the first 10 buttons pressed in this draft. I guess we.
Yeah. Yone going to be locked in. Again, is a flex pick theoretically between Mason and Alpals. I would be very shocked not to see Mason play it, especially given that I thought he was in a fine situation against Aatrox. I don't know that matchup was the issue. So far, I don't feel like either of these things were the issue for RRTM. So they're probably pretty comfortable running it back to this point. I would expect this to be the spot where we start seeing a little bit of a change up. And there it is, the Ash.
Yeah, the Talia was a novel idea, but I don't think it had the impact that RTM wished it would have had early on. Certainly, you could say that level 1 limited her early game impact, and that's a fair statement, but maybe looking to get something more proactive than the Talia, or again, ease of execution, which Ash, Crystal Arrow is very easy execution as long as you hit your target, right? Pretty simple go button. So we're already seeing an adaptation.
And it's something where if Loker feels like he had an advantage on the Seraphine, maybe he can play more aggressive on the Ash and actually, net some of these kills or make that CS lead matter a little bit more. But this is kind of interesting. The Shyvana going to be taken away from Heimer, so just trying to knock him down the tier list as far as they can. Jarvan and Mordekaiser are the last 2 bans, but Volibear is still up. Well, if it's not broke for TDR,
Don't fix it. Yep.
and there's no reason this can't be a victor to end it out. They could just play the same comp, and we'll see if our team has found the answers that they needed into it. But still
What
a
if
couple of picks
Loker-
yet before then.
What if Loker did so well on the Seraphine? They run it back with Loker on the Seraphine again, and we get to see Cairo on the famous Ashe support that is popping up in solo queue.
That could be Kindred locked in for Heimer duels. That's a champion that has not been super meta recently, so I'm excited to see that one.
I really think that you want to get some beef somewhere in your lineup. Sure, the Ashe is nice to start fights, and then you got Yone and Seraphine to follow up, but we're looking for another pick comp from ROTM, playing comfort, not necessarily worried about playing to a certain team comp or style, just playing what they're comfortable playing and trying to create advantages they can build off in the early game.
Yeah, you have a pick comp, you have a poke and kite comp, you have a lot of words like that, and TDR just running it back full on. I wouldn't. I think that this Victor makes more sense than Orianna, but we're gonna go even more and lean into team fight with the Orianna. All right.
Victor can be a hard lane to navigate into an Ori because of he is relatively short range outside of his laser, so he has that one ability that's kind of long, but his natural CSing range and his Q range isn't super long, so it puts him kind of in a spot to be harassed by REQs through the wave, or subject to setting himself up to be charmed. So I kind of like the Orianna, allows you to be a little bit more safe and let your team comp kind of be the determining factor instead of your individual play. So he's kind of just taking the risk out of that matchup in order to scale into the mid and late game and just team fight, which is what his team wants to do.
Ooh.
I like to call these pick poke comps. They all fit under the banner of a finesse comp.
Yeah.
You gotta be very precise with how you execute it in most cases. So.
Yeah, and when you walk up to 5v5, rather than the natural inclination to go forward on a lot of things, you just want to buy distance and time and kite backwards, and it can be a little. It is definitely much more difficult to play. But we'll see if ROTM is up to the challenge. It's different in that way than last game, where they had a lot of tools that still went forward and were trying to create positive fights. This one is, I don't say entirely backwards because you still have Yone, but it feels like you want to, get your one pick, kite back, get you another pick, kite back. Like, it's it's a difficult comp to execute. But if you get ahead and you can just walk up to a tower and start sieging it, there's pretty much nothing that TDR can do about it. They just kind of eat, poke, and die.
Yeah, the one thing about this comp that I like more than the last comp that Kindred provides that Talia doesn't is she has that safety net of that R. So if ROTM, the Lamb's Respite, does buy a lot of time if they do find themselves getting put in a bad situation, to kind of maybe readjust and use the Lamb's Respite as a reset for some of their squishier members. But it's still going to be a team, a composition that has a high degree of execution in order to be successful on it. So.
Yep. Just
we are seeing that Ashe support. So.
Oh. All right.
I'm excited to see this. I think it's really strong, and I think it's slept on. I don't think it's just an ARAM pick, but like all the things that Ashe can do, the easy harass with the W, the vision that she provides with Hawkshot, like it's not to be slept on. I think it offers just as much as any other poke support like Brand or things like that, maybe even more with the arrow. So I really am excited to watch this Ashe support in action, to be honest.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting pick, and you can rapid fire arrows, get it down to like 35 seconds. All the strong bullshit that you see in ARAMs that's super annoying happens on Summoner's Rift, but um, it's not a lot of sustained damage coming out of ROTM unless the Kindred and Yone get going.
Also true. It's also easy to. Now, I will say the one thing I like about ROTM and how they've approached this draft, right, is you can use the Ash Hawkshot to be your face check now, which they didn't have in the last game. And we saw that ROTM, a lot of the skirmishes that went negatively for them were moments where they kind of just ran into someone that they didn't want to, and hopefully, in theory, the Ash should help mitigate some of that face checking um, that that kind of got them into trouble last game. So that is one advantage over the last draft I like, plus the Kindred Aura, as I touched on earlier. I think you're 100% right in how ROTM wants to play this fight. I think they're either kiting back, or if they can get a pick with Enchanted Crystal Arrow before the fight, then that kind of enables Seraphine to hit her R button and Yone to go forward as well if you get the pick and you're in a 5v4. But these squishy comps in a durability patch are just a lot harder to execute than ones that are traditional front to back. This is a team fighting meta almost, and while it's certainly possible to buck the trend with strong champions, it's much more high risk, high reward, in my opinion. So.
Well, Banditos on the CCS stream had a decent lead in game number 1, but weren't able to close that one out. So both of the Plat teams down 0-1, looking to turn things around, and we'll see if Darkwind can do it. We're running back very similar team compositions with just a handful of changes, and we'll see if those make all the difference for ROTM to try to claw their way back in it. If not, we're headed to another early night, which I can appreciate, but maybe the stream wouldn't.
I know easing into this casting thing and having 2 days in a row as I'm starting and getting my vocal cords used to talking this much, I selfishly wouldn't hate a short night, but I'm also, as an ROTM fan, hoping that means that ROTM wins 2 25-minute games back to back instead of one more 35-minute game here or something, So we'll see what happens as we get into load screen and get to check out who has the best Skinergy. Well, never mind. They loaded in super fast. Way to go. Good internet for all 10 participants.
Oh, never mind. Well, immediately the pause, nothing happened, so no reason to flip to another screen. Let's see what happened. We're apparently taking a little potty break in the loading screen.
It's not surprising to me, given how fast we transitioned from game 1 into the second draft. That does make a little bit of sense to me. So glad the teams were able to handshake on it and just say potty breaks are okay. We're making good time in this series so far, so I don't think there's anything wrong with a short 2 or 3 minute potty break, except for as the casters. Now we just got more time to fill. So
Yeah, and we got hyped. You did the outro. We're not just sitting there, but we're back in. We'll get a second pause at some point because that's what always happens. And there it is. How exciting! And then we'll finally get underway for game number 2. Uh, Riot spectator client. This still hasn't been fixed. We did load immediately into both games today, which I appreciate. So that was nice. Maybe
yep.
they're putting in the time. We haven't had a patch this year, so fingers crossed. But we haven't had the one this year that just breaks the spectator client for a couple of days. But it's probably coming up before too long.
those are tough for organizations that play competitive and like to stream their games, such as RTM and all of the leagues out there. But we see more of a 5 point. The TDR ready for the invade with the stack in the top lane, not letting that happen to him twice in a row.
I don't know why you would go for the same. Hey, that invade didn't work very well in game one. Let's go for the exact same one. Doesn't feel like a high percentage strategy, but
I mean, the initial top invade worked well. It's just they didn't set up. There was no vision to protect against the counter invade on the bot side, but the initial invade wasn't bad by our team in
yeah,
game one.
I guess that's true. Anyway, we're returning, and it looks like Heimerdoodles is going to start top side, and Splash is starting on his bottom side. So cross map jungling, and maybe some shenanigans afoot. I don't foresee that. I imagine we'll just see full clears heading to opposite sides of the map, but that might make Mason a little more vulnerable, as well as making 0-2 and Dragon Mooncake a little bit more vulnerable on the bottom side.
Given the way that Mason played out game one and kind of some of the pressure that Volley sent his way, and he was able to kind of navigate those ganks without giving up too much in the top lane, I feel like that's probably a good adjustment by ROTM. Maybe playing towards their bot side again and letting top lane be an island. You have Mason, who's shown to be a very capable weak side player in game one, so I like the adjustment by ROTM.
Kind of interesting. Both members of bot lane separately going up for auto attack battles. Kairo's being very aggressive so far on the Ashe. Um, yeah, this is very curious. Also, they didn't match the skins. It's not the two ocean skins. Maybe Loker doesn't have the ocean skin, but you'd think if you have paired skins like that, you got to go for it. Kairo has to burn his flash, so maybe a little over aggression on the bottom side. He'll have to be a little bit more careful now.
Skinergy definitely gives you +1 in the mental battle, so they are missing out on that opportunity. No official in-game stats for Skinergy, but mental advantage is where that plays out, and unfortunately, ROTM missed out on that.
I mean, you look good, you play good. That's it.
Right. It's all about confidence factor, right? So
Noodle's hanging around on the bottom side now. It looks like he's just going to settle for trading crabs. We'll see if he wins the coin flip. This is, the ye old kindred coin flip. How'd we do?
unfortunately, we
Lost
came
it.
up short this time. Yep.
Unlucky. Try it again next time, boys. But yeah, immediately Volibear going to start that one off. You can even see Skifter going out defensively, making sure there's no cheeky kindred steal over the wall, but he's not there. They're just trading crabs for now, and that might give an idea because they haven't seen Heimerdoodles yet. That might give an idea about what happened. Just the cross map clearing. Now Splash will be spotted on the ward up top, so Mason is aware of where the Volibear is, and everything will continue as normal. Both bot lanes grabbing an early recall just for pretty much nothing, but you get a longsword, you get an amp tome. Now Mason has to be careful. He's going to snap back, and he probably doesn't want to snap back. Yeah, has to flash away immediately. Now a lot of damage coming on through, and they'll take him down. First blood going to Splash on the Volibear.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think there was a panic flash by Mason. You probably know that once you popped E, you're probably not getting out of that predicament since they can just kind of sit on your return point. Unfortunately, Blow's flash makes him susceptible to a repeat gank. Hopefully, um, we'll be able to see ROTM create advantages in other areas to kind of counterbalance that, but not as comfortable of a start for Mason up in the top lane. And we see Splash sitting up there trying to really get the hard punish of knocking him after he teleported back to lane, but Mason very smartly just letting a slow push build up and kind of ensuring his safety a little bit. But TDR being very patient with this, really wanting the punish.
Yeah, this is a lot of time investment, and Mason now walking up. Oh, they're going to wait for that Q to fall off, I imagine. Where's he going with it? Into the minion wave, and that's going to probably secure his doom. Yeah, they're not going to fall for him kiting back out.
Yep,
Well,
just E and clear the wave. That's about all you can do as Mason after you pop that E and use
he's
your
got the W. Can he get out of the... Oh, couldn't quite get out of the Infernal Chains, but there's the Q. That's actually really patiently navigated by Mason.
Yeah, very, very good. I thought he was certainly dead. Good job by Heimer kind of
Oh,
roaming
the
up to cover
flash
that
Q, they're
too.
going in. Elsa taken pretty low. Heimerdoodles has his mark on Volibear, but is able to get the return kill. So the jungler's trading kills up on the top side. Alpal's level 5 gets a charm onto Skifter, but now forced back underneath his turret. Skifter has his ult available, so you have to be careful about that ball now.
He actually used it in that exchange.
Oh,
He used it right as the directed campaigned over to that skirmish. He was trying to use the level 6 advantage.
Cairo is
Unfortunately,
here at level 3, just walks in for the slow. They get the flash out of Skifter in exchange for the Spirit Rush, so worthwhile investment. But Cairo sacrificing a lot of his experience and making Loker play weak side this game.
yeah, I don't know if as the Ash support you want to roam as heavily as the Pike. I think you do kind of want to get down there and kind of get that 6 as early as you can. But his roam did kind of protect Alpal's there, so you can't fault it too hard. He was being pressured under turret, kind of able to reset the lane for Alpals with the pressure he created against Skifter. Uh, but yeah, as we panned into that mid lane skirmish that was originally there, Skifter had just used the ult, but an Orianna ult rank 1 is more about the CC than the damage. There's not a lot of damage behind that, especially before uh, any real items are purchased. There's not a lot of threat behind it, so it's more of a war of attrition with Orianna and that not that burst until later into the game. So that's why no kills happened in the mid lane there.
That was kind of interesting. So Cairo walked into the bottom lane and threw his hawk shot back into the blue side jungle of TDR. And I just thought it was interesting. The pings immediately go down on top of him as they had found the Ash support in the bottom lane rather than, the Ash pinging, hey, all these camps are here. Splash Skifter and Mooncake are going to go ahead and just take this dragon. I don't know what they saw that really indicates that they can do this. Maybe just Loker being absent from the bottom lane, but they'll go ahead and grab their first dragon and their 5th overall of the series.
Yeah, they probably just sniffed out it was recall timings, and they kind of just had the advantage where nobody on ROTM's bottom side of the map was on the map, whereas all 3 of them were ready to take dragon. Able to do it without much opportunity cost. The wave was kind of already pushing into tower anyway, um, so low cost dragon for TDR to take.
Yep, it's kind of interesting. The lanes where the advantages were happening in game number 1 for ROTM, not quite there. Mason, a little bit behind Elsa now. Loker falling a little bit behind 0-2 on the bottom lane as well. Instead, it's Heimerdoodles being even is kind of the advantage that ROTM have this game, even though the gold count is very similar to where we were at in game number 1.
There is potential for RTM to flip the script and get that lead once again for Loker. Once Ash hits 6, get Kindred to come down and kind of just throw the arrow. And that's a really tough 1-2 punch to navigate the Ash arrow with the Seraphine ult. So um, could see RTM flip the script on that very quickly. The thing I want to kind of touch on is it'll be really interesting to see what kind of build that Alpals goes with. Is he gonna go for
Oh, they're trying to force onto Dragon Mooncake. They get the flash out of the Renata, and that's it. Well,
is he
maybe
gonna go
not.
for
Cairo is still looking, and he's got to get out. He gets exhausted. This is a little too aggressive, I think, from Cairo and Loker. Heimerdoodles is hanging around up on the top side. Also going to collapse in. Alpals is here, but the 3v3 should not go ROTM's way with that trio of characters right now.
yeah, they're just kind of handshaking on it. I don't think either team really confident to take that fight at this point. But I was touching on the Ori build, and given Electrocute, it makes me believe that we're aiming for a more damage-oriented build, whether that's Leandri's into a Volibear, getting the extra haste for more rotations of spells for Ori, or Luden's for the penetration for the squishies, or is Alpal's going to build the Everfrost to get um, kind of the utility in the CDR with the extra snare and the health on that. So like there, this is a game where there's a lot of options for Ari that I think you could argue are correct. I don't think there's a best mythic for Ari. And I'll be really interested to see how Alpals feels about the way that this game's going to play out and how he builds accordingly.
Well, Heimerdoodles is an alcove gamer. Kairo's trying to bait with his body. Um, ooh, did he get spotted? No pings come down, but Heimerdoodles now walks very confidently out of the bush. So Jig is up in terms of a bot lane gank, and ROTM now with a couple of options, and it looks like back to farming for now. 128 to go on a dragon spawn. Cairo should probably get back to base if they're looking to fight that one so that he can be full health for that.
And I'm interested. I'm gonna hover Kindred here and see what we're looking at. We got one stack so far, 11 and a half minutes into the game. That doesn't feel good for Kindred. You're probably hoping at this point you're at least on the verge of cashing in that fourth stack, but Heimer's been kind of denied by a group effort from TDR, and they are keeping that stack count down pretty well right now. So
Yep, just one crab for him. Not able to secure a kill on the volley bear now. Over the wall looking for Skifter. He'll get the slow, get a little chunk. Oh, and the Ash Arrow has to be flashed. That was a neat little angle that Cairo had worked himself into. Would have been hard to see that one coming, but Skifter navigates it well and it is able to flash away. So again, it feels like these are the opportunities that our team needs to try to cash in on, and haven't been able to find the picks again this game. Alpal's going to walk in, just hit a little charm for some damage onto Skifter, and our team have set up in the area of this dragon. I don't know that they really want this. Heimerdoodles has the dash over the wall with the Dance of Arrows. If he can get there, has to use the ult just to try to buy a little bit of time. Now over the top, they'll get the Encore for the charm, and Heimerdoodles is out, but Dragon should go over to TDR.
yeah, given the representation that TDR sent, including rotating Aatrox down to the mid lane just in case something broke out, I think you're always giving this up as ROTM minus a steal. So I think you're just counting yourselves fortunate that Heimer got out alive and all they got was the dragon and didn't get anything more off that, given how that started. So
Yeah, I think it's interesting. So Alpals did go for the Everfrost, which means Loker is headed for a little bit more of a support build as well. Last game we saw him with the Leandri's Torment. This game, probably a Moonstone, you would imagine. Could be something else last second, but kind of interesting to see both our team members opting for a support build. Splash going to hang around, make sure that they're able to secure that first turret of the game on the bottom side. Now Mason and Elsa duel up in the top lane with Heimerdoodles getting involved, and they'll get the kills. So 2 kills, both, all the kills actually in this game have been up in the top lane. Asholt going to land onto Dragon Moon Cake, but nothing really happening down on the bottom side.
I'll be as you pointed out, I feel like opting into the support build as a Seraphine in this game really makes you dependent on grouping, and I don't know if you want to group as ROTM necessarily. I think I would have kind of preferred to see a Leandries out of this, and then if you wanted to go maybe like the port of items second or third Moonstone, you could certainly argue the case given that Ash R scales off of that, plus you have your Ari. But I definitely think you're Mythic, you're more damage focused, and I like the idea of a Leandry, so you get the haste to get more spells out, but you also get the max health burn for a Volibear who's gonna possibly be difficult to deal with depending upon how Heimerdoodles plays out this early game.
Yeah,
Although
Heimer is... Sorry, you were about to say the exact same thing, but go ahead.
Heimer is on a roll and doing much better than he was in the previous game, and with that Kraken Slayer plus the extra marks, the percent health should be a little bit easier for him to deal with the Volibear than the Talia was. But again, squishy champions and high ceiling, low floor with this composition. So we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. It is much better footing than they found themselves in at the same spot in the last game, though.
Yeah, this is around the spot, though, where TDR had started to break it open. It was when these first couple of items started coming through, and they're coming through again. You have the Essence Reaver on 0-2, the Chem Tank on Splash, the Gore Drinker on Elsa, and this is when it broke open for the Crustacean Nation in last game. Well, in comes the Ashholt. Not quite going to land, but the Encore does. Shockwave also a little bit lacking there. Heimerdoodle's dashing forward with the Dance of Arrows, just looking for a little bit of trade damage, but 0-2 is very strong apparently right now, able to chase off the Kindred, and no picks happening in the mid lane.
I know doing it from out of vision is a huge advantage in the sense that it's harder for them to dodge it when it's already in flight on their screen when they first see it, but I'd like to see Cairo maybe get a little bit closer and give himself higher odds of hitting these arrows instead of launching them from base or at weird angles. Maybe take the sure thing and get something that's not quite as long of a stun or isn't quite as YouTube-ish, but gets the ult hit and able to generate a pick off of it.
Yeah, Mason just getting chased down up in the top lane. They have more than enough tools to eventually finish off the Yone. I like the way he tried to use everything to get out, but no safety for the Yone. They drop Sheila up in the top lane as well, and once again crash it through these top two towers and secure themselves an advantage. Asher are going to land underneath the tower, but they can't really collapse on 0-2, and once again these two towers going to go down at right about 17 minutes.
It gives a long lane for Mason, puts him in a even more precarious position given that he's got a long way to go to even reach the tower, and I kind of think that like he's now in clear waves and group up mode. I don't think he gets to play that extended lane anymore. So that really hurts for ROTM. It kind of limits the gold income that they're going to have in the next few minutes because of that. However, what seems to be in play is both teams heading towards that dragon area, and what I like about this is ROTM's going to get there first, which is very necessary for their composition to be successful in these neutral objective skirmishes and fights.
That was Heimer's second mark, by the way, that he just got on that Scuttle Crab. So, up to 2 now. Sivir ult over the wall just to try to close a little bit of distance. Volibear chunked out to about half health. Nothing really used on the side of RTM yet. At least nothing with a very significant cooldown. Heimerdoodles walks in. They see Elsa from Frozen. This is a very scary 5v5 again. We talked about every 5v5 being scary. In comes the Encore, though. Into the Fate Sealed, and Mason's into the backline. But Kindred's already down. The snapback from Mason just puts him into danger, and they cannot chew through Elsa in any amount of time. It's a double kill for Elsa from Frozen, which is a sentence for sure. He is continuing to chase on down and finish. Disney has changed. It's a double kill for Elsa from Frozen, and Splash is going to take down the dragon at the end of this one. Cairo is going to harass it. Skifter? All right, that was a flash over the wall just to make sure that he can save his Volibear. 2,000 health to go on the dragon. Seraphine trying to throw in and get the steal again, but no magic this time. Loker will get pulled back in and eventually die. Elsa picks that one up because why not? Third kill of the game for him, and now can dash over the wall and look for Cairo as well. This Aatrox has been just disgusting for TDR.
At both games, it's really been a thorn in the side of ROTM. Whenever they really start to get any sort of positive momentum going, it seems like that's when Elsa decides to let it go on top of ROTM and kind of stop them straight in their tracks. Sorry for the terrible dad joke.
You went for the lowest hanging one too. Like
I know. It's yeah, you know, sometimes they set themselves up for us because when you're waiting for something to talk about in a positive light, you kind of just gotta lift the spirits of the viewers, and you need those moments of comedy. I'm trying to justify something that was bad, and I can't do it. I'm sorry. I'm like a politician right now.
Yeah, Heimerdoodles is trying to win a 1v1 against 0-2, but it's not really a 1v1. Charm gonna land. That was really well buffered by Splash, but they do eventually take down 0-2. Flash away from the Renato ult. Alpal still has 2 dashes if he wants them, but uses the one defensively. And RTM, I, I don't think they can hit Baron. That doesn't seem like a thing that they're able to do, but they're still going to try. They have the shields. They're they're hitting Baron. They're definitely doing this. And there's no ult from Heimerdoodles, and there's no way to tank this. They need Yone to. Uh, yeah. That happened.
It kind of feels like
Oh,
their
maybe
intention.
it was the bait. They were trying to pull the Renata back in for the pick. They don't actually have any damage here. Um,
I was gonna say that felt like it was more them trying to coerce TDR to come into them and fight them on their terms more, since they can't really run at TDR. But TDR,
Heimerdoodles is just gonna die there. Mason over the wall looking for the return kill. Gets the dash back and will finish off Skifter. Nicely done by Mason. Alpals gets the root. Can they actually chew through the health bar of Elsa? It doesn't seem like it. Is just the straight up answer. And TDR just continues to walk through mid lane. This tower should be theirs at the end of this. We're going to land. They get a little chunk. It turns into a big chunk. Not quite able to find that last little bit of damage, and the snapback doesn't do it either. In 0-2, it takes down Mason. Just trying to find the kill on the support.
I I think that like what you highlighted as far as early game, where the bottom half of the map is kind of limited in their damage output, is kind of um, reared its head in some of these picks that ROTM was trying to go for. And it's kind of looking a lot like game one, where TDR is getting picked, but they're making it out with only losing, half their health bar instead of the full thing. Um, Kind of pigeonholing ROTM into grouping up, but I don't necessarily, again, think you want to do that either into the composition that is across from you on the other side of the map. So.
Yep. 8-4 in kills. It's a 6,500 gold lead right now for TDR. They feel like any fight they take is a positive fight for them. So they'll continue taking them, and why not? Elsa just clearing out some vision. What we've seen is a couple of good individual picks from ROTM, but then overstays seem to cost them every single time, at least through this mid-game section. And this is not what you want to see. Splash is going to find Cairo. They'll pull him back in with a handshake, and that's a dead Ash.
The thing that I would be critical of as far as ROTM outside of, you know, uh, some of the things that haven't gone their way, I think the one decision type of thing is, if you're gonna pick a Seraphine and you're gonna build it support, I really wish they would have put a shielding champion. I wish the Orianna was on ROTM side instead of the Ari, because if you're gonna build that Moonstone, being able to proc a W heal every single time by just throwing the Ori E on her just seems so much better if you're gonna run this style of.
This is desperation. This is RTM trying to force down a Baron. In comes the Renata ult, which makes everyone berserk. Elsa gets into the backline. Mason is able to interrupt the initiation, but the Baron is still alive. The Dragon is falling currently to Splash, which is going to be the Ocean Soul. Elsa has a double kill. Over the wall, Skifter gets the pull back onto Alpals. Does he have the damage to track down? Charm is going to land from Alpals as he kites back away, but eventually falls, and Loker is stuck in the middle of no man's land. It's a triple kill for Elsa, and Ocean Soul and Baron now going to be handed over to Crustacean Nation.
I don't hate the idea, knowing that they were going for Soul, trying to force TDR to kind of pick and choose. Unfortunately, TDR knew what was up, and they said, hey, our 4-man's strong enough to run you off as Baron while our volley solos Dragon, and they kind of just get their cake and get to eat it too in this situation. So.
Good block there by Dragon Mooncake, making sure that Cairo can't get in any position to send that arrow into Baron, and successfully taken by the Crustacean Nation. Everything heads toward carcinogenation, as it turns out.
So backs against the wall for ROTM here. Next 5 minutes is going to be extremely important. They really want to try to stem the bleeding super fast and kind of work themselves back on footing to where they're at least able to make TDR think twice about going for this Elder on spawn. I don't know if there's enough time and enough power left for them to accrue on the map in order to do that, but um,
They're gonna get a pick onto Dragon Mooncake. That doesn't suck. That's
not at all.
a good chunk of gold to start out with, and might make them reconsider this Baron push. Well, you could see the reconsideration. Now it's over. They'll continue their push, but no support on the map does help.
Um, it it's a the thing about it is it's a lot like game one where we're finally starting to see RTM play to the strengths of their comp. It's just unfortunately it might be a little bit too late. If they get that pick on a more even gold state, then all of a sudden they completely neutralize this Baron because the TDR probably can't push 4v5 like they are right now. It's just they're getting outstatted because of the gold difference, because of the kind of the ease of execution that we
Ooh,
talked about.
Alpal's looking for it. That was really well played by Skifter and 0-2. Big Orianna ult, trying to buy some time. 0-2 gets taken low, gets taken down by Heimerdoodles. Mason going to jump back, but Elsa on the flank has found Loker and tears him apart. And Alpal's trying to kite back away. Splash is able to find Mason on the other side of the fight. They'll jump in, turn off the tower, get the bite through. Mason eventually has to snap back, but doesn't even have time to do that. Heimerdoodle's just trying to kite underneath the tower, doesn't have the Lamb's Respite, and it's a double kill for Splash on the in the top lane. Alpals is running away from Elsa. There's no reason to narrate this one. It's a bad fight for ROTM. They get another pick, but they lose 3.
Yep. This series kind of got to give a lot of props and a lot of credit to Splash and Elsa. I kind of feel like they were the catalysts for a lot of what TDR did in these two games. Scoreboard kind of is evidence of that, but it seems like they were the real pressure points for TDR. And though the game isn't over yet, you're kind of scratching your head as ROTM, trying to figure out how you're gonna get yourselves back in this game, and if there is a way for you to do it with the amount of structures left on the map that TDR has to knock down before they take a victory. So, um, game's not over. Crazy things have happened. People are human and they do make mistakes, but TDR is definitely firmly in the driver's seat right now.
You know, I hate it when I'm driving and I'm just not firmly in the seat.
Right. When you like take a turn too hard and you kind of lean out of the seat a little bit, you feel like you're gonna get thrown. Like, yeah, that's a uncomfortable feeling. So, um, strap your seatbelts in tight. You know.
I understand that phrase and I use it myself, but I always just every time I hear it, I'm just like, that doesn't make like that much sense.
Right. And when you like when you add adjectives to it too, like firmly or uh, it kind of makes it even more silly, right?
Yeah.
So
I always like the LEC casters always say in the driving seat rather than the driver's seat. Oh, that Ash ult not quite able to connect on Dragon Mooncake, but um, it is what it is. It's a 14,000 gold lead, which is relatively unthrowable. So TDR would have to make a lot of cataclysmic mistakes, um, and we haven't seen that this series from them. It's been, maybe one pick here and there has been the biggest mistakes that we've seen. But other than that, they played a very clean series thus far. And 30 seconds to go on this Elder Dragon spawn. Skifter and Elsa both on the top side of the map. They have teleport. Alpal's there to answer. He also has teleport, so those characters not necessary to be here right on spawn. Dragon Mooncake did go back to base, so he'll take a little bit longer walk in. It's 12 seconds to go. Loker is pulling the minion wave. I guess trying to avoid Elsa who's walking through mid. They need to clear this wave because it's got 2 supers in it, if I'm not mistaken. And Alpals is there. They're just going to have to let it go. That wasn't an intentional pun. Um,
uh,
yeah. This feels bad for RTM, but they're going to go for it anyway. They get the big fate sealed splash, just jumps into the back line. They'll throw him back in with the Oriana ult. The Lambs Respite just buying time, but nothing else. It makes the fight last a little bit longer, look a little bit sillier, but it's a double kill for Skifter. They'll finish him off. It's a triple kill for Skifter. Why not? And it's a 2-0 win for TDR Crustacean Nation, unless Alpals has something really special for us here. He does not. He's walking back to base.
nah, TDR earned themselves a victory in this series, like you said, with mostly clean play. Very minor slip ups here and there, but they definitely earned themselves the victory. Um, I think when you speak about mechanics and laning prowess and things like that, ROTM was definitely able to match them toe for toe in the laning phase. They're just gonna maybe have to, if they're gonna meet again in playoffs, kind of maybe take a look back at this series and see what they did and didn't like about drafts, and kind of maybe adjust to see what they can do to empower themselves to make the transition to mid and late game easier for themselves next time they face this team, because I think the individual members of the team are pretty equally matched. They all it didn't I didn't seem any drastic advantages player wise on one side or the other. It kind of looked more of a composition and execution thing more than anything this series. So
So the Crustacean Nation advances to 5-0, all but locking themselves into that number one seed. Just a couple weeks left in the regular season to cover this bizarre playoff format. Which, by the way, shout out to Aegis for having it just on the cover page of their like official spreadsheets. Very easy to follow. So the top two teams in each group automatically clinch playoffs, and every team but the last team in the group. So teams that are 3 through 6 in the group will play in a Swiss bracket. So you really want to get top two, and now Darkwind with 2 losses gonna have a little bit of help in order to get there, but can turn around again next week playing against the lost Ayayas, and yeah, that's my speech. I didn't plan much more than that. Sorry.
without having look at it, I guess is ROTM, if they win out, would they be top two, or do they still need maybe like TDR to knock off one of their similar opponents that's in between TDR or something like that? Because
So
I don't have the standings pulled up
yeah,
in front of me.
so they lost to both Iceborne and TDR. So they would need some other teams to beat Iceborne for them, basically, in order to make top two. Uh,
Oh, because Iceborne would have the head-to-head if TDR were even to beat them, so they need at least one team to upset Iceborne or TDR. Well, okay, I get what you're saying now.
Yep. So need a little help to get top two. It's not head to head. It's game score, but yeah, it all amounts to roughly the same thing where they need help now
Gotcha.
in order to get top two, but shouldn't fall all the way to seventh. So have to look at running their way through the Swiss bracket.
I mean, if they finish third, there's certainly an advantage for them in the Swiss bracket, right? They get the higher seating for the Swiss bracket, I imagine, and things like that. So there is still advantages to obviously doing your
Yeah,
best and trying to get every single game that you can, even if you aren't in position to take top two. So
yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, I'm gonna play the Star Guardian song in the background, and we're going to send you guys over to the official CCS stream to watch Rodham Banditos in their debut try to turn it around against Dorado Gaming New. So, thank you from myself, from Toe Knuckles, and from the rest of our OTM for joining us, and we'll see you guys tomorrow for the Gold Mega stream, as well as maybe Crowstorm. That'll be kind of a mess that we'll have to play by ear. So, we'll see you tomorrow night.
see ya, everybody. Look forward to tomorrow. Thank you.
Bye. I always forget that there's a 10-second countdown. I think I say that every single time I do this.
Wait, 10-second countdown for what?
I click the raid button, and then there's a 10-second countdown.
Oh.